Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, from all of us at Agent Paranormal. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Sunday. We're getting some awesome weather here in upstate New York, enjoying it. I hope you are too. We're back for another exciting episode, except we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. But before I talk about what we're going to do, let me introduce the gang. Again, I'm your host, Rich. Seated next to me is your co-host, Peter. Across from me is your other co-host and engineer, the most important man sitting here in the room, Kevin. And we have a special guest with us tonight, which we'll introduce shortly. So what are we going to talk about tonight, gentlemen? Something different, right? Traditionally, it's been ghosts, right? Ghosts, spirits, demons, and we've had some pretty good discussions on that. But tonight we're going to go a little bit weirder.
We're going to go further under the paranormal umbrella.
Fairly deeper. Deep dive, right, as they say?
Yeah.
Well, if you look up the term paranormal in the dictionary, it pretty much means nothing normal. So anything that's outside of norm is considered paranormal. So this does encompass things like Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, all that other kind of great stuff. So tonight we want to talk to you about one of the favorite subjects of some of our members, and that is UFOs, or UFOs, as some of us...
UFOs.
You folks. So tonight we have a special guest joining us. He's a friend of ours. We've known him for many years. His name is Vinny Perillo. Say hi, Vinny.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good. Awesome. He's got his Braves hat on over there. He's a old school Braves fan. But he's actually kind of someone that we talk to and basically talk a lot about UFOs with, because he reads about a lot of this stuff. He researches about a lot of this stuff. And he and Peter have a lot of discussions on this stuff, which is pretty much way above my head and my pay scale. So gentlemen, let's jump into it. So
Don't undersell yourself, Rich.
Trust me. So let's jump into it. So Peter brought a book with him that he wants to share for starters, and then we're going to deep dive into this.
Well, we've been down Uranus so deep with this stuff that
there it is. There it
get
is.
one out for you. Bang!
Right
There's
away.
a book. There's a book. Logbook of UFO activity.
Well, tell our viewers a little bit about this logbook of UFO activity.
So you and your companion is out riding around in the darkness, looking to frolic or do kinds of things up on the hills over there near the forest hills, where the big eagle is. And then all of a sudden something comes through the night sky and you're like, what is that? And as the aliens touch down and have fourth degree contact with you, this and that, all these things happen, you find out that you're best friends with Chumley. He gets back on his thing, goes back up, and boom. When you go to tell this story, people are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, see, that's where the logbook of UFO activity comes in, because there's special charts and graphs in here that you can record every little detail about what you've seen. So then when you give it to the investigators, they just laugh at you even more. And there's even an Etch-a-Sketch box for you. You can draw a sketch. Even though we put a lot of jest into this is a very serious thing. I mean, we've put a lot of effort into this. The new one will be coming out in 2021.
I was going to say the book is not a joke. It really is a detailed book as like a UFO diary. So if you're really into following this stuff and you want to document it, there's a lot of stuff in there already pretty much pre-filled out that you can just check off and sketch what you saw and things like that. Because with the paranormal stuff, with ghosts and spirits, a lot of times when people are having hauntings in their homes or businesses, we ask them to write stuff down, to log it for us, so that we can know, what kind of conditions were happening at the time. What was the weather like outside?
And as a matter
what time?
of fact, we have one called the Logbook of Paranormal Activity.
There you go. So you should never leave your house without either of those books walking down. You go to a party, well, you can't right now because of COVID, but when COVID's gone, you go to a party, bring those books, because you never know what might happen,
And Utica coffee in the left hand, Paranormal brew, and the Logbook of UF activity.
So is there a pocket size coming out anytime soon? Or?
Is there an app? So, because people aren't going to walk around with the books. They want it on their phone, man. Everything's on the phone.
We should.
Ebook.
We should.
We should do an app.
We should.
Now, I think you and I were talking about it before. The logs that you actually put in there, weren't those the government logs, how they would actually keep track of them as well?
Yes. these are a compilation. I'm trying to find one here. A compilation of many different sources, and we've added a few things that would make a little more sense. A lot of the government forms were geared towards the 1950s Blue Book stuff, where they were still looking for cigar-shaped versus saucer, which was like the biggest thing of the event.
And in those times, they were still trying to prove that UFOs weren't anything to worry about. So,
You know, modern day, we're more interested, did this affect the weather? Did this affect anything around you? What is this white, misty, spider-like substance left behind? Did you actually see a creature? Was it in the air? There's a whole bunch of things we've added into that. And as Rich said, one thing that we, in our travels, we'd love to do for the paranormal that exists in the UFO world is the source reliability code. That is a 3-digit number that they assigned, and this is what Blue Book started to use to give priority to cases that are phenomenal. So a 111 or a 000, which is next to impossible, that would basically be like the spaceship literally lands on the White House lawn, they get out and walk over to the president, and there's no... The person involved is highly respected. There's multiple visitors. Actually, no, it wouldn't, because it needs to be over a period of time, right? So it would only be 112. But sorry,
Binary
over
code
everybody's
for
head.
UFOs. Binary code for UFOs.
Yeah,
That's all I
you're
know.
losing me already.
Well, see, if you had the logbook,
Is there some good reading in there? Or is it just pretty much write down your details?
oh no, we have some really good stuff in
Is there?
there.
So
But this is not what people are interested. They want the nitty gritty. So, Vinny, if we're going to get into it, basic UFOologists, throw out a name. Who's somebody they should read? Who's somebody they should read?
personally, I think Whitney Strieber is a good source. He has some CIA background, and he has a passion for the field, and he's been researching this stuff for probably a good 40 years now.
Was he abducted too, or was that just Walton? I always confuse.
He was abducted several times.
There was that.
Actually in New York State, in the Hudson region, where there also happens to be a flux of UFO sightings throughout the last 20 years.
What's his book's name? Because this is one people, if you're interested in UFOs, you should definitely read.
Communion.
Yes.
what we should do
Fire
is
in
we
the
should
Sky
put,
is the other one.
Right.
on our Facebook page, we should, after the show, maybe put some titles and some authors on there
a
if
good
people
idea.
want to read a little bit more about this, because there's a lot of stuff out there.
Right.
I know Vinny and I think Peter, and I'm not sure Kevin was there, but we went and saw Stanton Friedman.
But that was a good time.
Yeah, over at the Mohawk Valley Community College theater there, and he was a very charismatic kind of guy. You know, you like listening to him. Obviously, he's well educated. He's a nuclear physicist or
Something
nuclear
like
engineer or
engineers,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, but what sort of kind of disappointed me was when he got to the point where he was going to reveal stuff. Shocking evidence. like when we reveal evidence of the paranormal, like we have like EVPs, or we show you a picture of what we think is a demon or whatever. And he goes, prepare for it, Then he throws up this document, which is all blacked out. And I'm just like, you could have made that at home.
Right.
But, if you listen to him, that's an actual government document that had pretty much everything you need to know about aliens. And someone for the government, basically blacked it all out so no one could interpret it. So it was kind of disappointing that, it's like, I want to see it. And I'm skeptic about this whole thing. UFOs, everyone believes in UFOs. It's unidentified flying objects.
Correct.
That doesn't mean it's an alien. There's a lot of things that could be UFOs. But aliens, I'm still kind of skeptic about it. But I think there's way too many sightings to be discounted as hoaxes. There are a
That's
lot
what
of
I've been for
credible
years.
people seeing things,
Right.
like the Foo Fighters and all that kind of stuff. But still skeptic until I actually see it for myself, or see some kind of video evidence on a credible network or something like that. Then I'll go along with it. So I remember hearing stories though about UFO activity here in upstate New York. The one in particular I remember, and you probably can shed a lot of light on this, is the one that happened in Walesville. Now, if I remember the story correct, a jet was chasing a UFO
Yes,
It came out of
military-
Griffiths,
a
right?
military jet, yes.
Kevin's kind of looking over there. Do you remember this story?
I do not.
Okay. Jet was chasing this UFO and crashed into a house. It was at the Four Corners of Walesville. Walesville is like if you go to over past Clark's Mills Road and you head over where United Research Services was there, and there's the radio station. You take that right, that fork, and you go down to the Four Corners as you're headed towards Westmoreland, Stone Road. You cross a little bridge, there's a Oriskany Creek. And on there's just a lot that used to have a house. It's just vacant. And that's where the house was that the jet crashed into.
There's a
Straight.
plaque. There's a plaque there.
You're right, there is. I never read the plaque.
Same here, actually.
But it happened like right on the side of Oriskany Creek, because I think someone told me a long time ago there was a fireball that was going down following Oriskany Creek. It was just, and that's what basically people were fishing on the on the sides of the banks and come flying down there. And I think somehow the government got the call, whatever, and responded. They must have responded quickly.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like, oh, we'll just take our time. They must have had birds in the sky
Within a minute.
within a few minutes.
When was this?
1954.
Thank you.
That explains why I don't remember it.
Right.
Well, none of us were alive.
It wasn't.
How old do you
publicized
think
as
I
a
am,
UFO.
dude?
It wasn't publicized as a UFO event. either.
Anybody older than me was born in like 1900.
I was
Literally.
1895. So, okay.
So can I be the turd in the punch bowl with that? Because you know my Griffiths love.
Not really sure where that's going,
Okay,
but okay.
so,
Scary.
and then we're going to I'll lead you into, we'll bring him down the rabbit hole. It's all about credibility. So, Mohawk Airlines jet was coming in for landing. They seen a silver object in the sky moving. They, because of their reliability as airline pilots, were considered credible. See, this is where the source reliability code comes in. This isn't just someone calling up saying, oh, there's an alien in the sky. This is someone who's respected, like firemen, policemen, military.
Right.
So they scrambled 2 jets from Griffiths, which were actually on a training mission outside of Niagara Falls. So it took them, I believe, some odd 20 minutes to get here. They saw the alleged object, at which time one of the airplanes burst in the flames. The cockpit ignited in the flames. As he ejected out, I believe he hit the other plane. Both planes scattered in 2 different directions. One killed an entire family in a station wagon. The other one veered off into a house, blew up, took the thing. I don't remember how many died there. It was a pretty horrific thing. It's heavily photographed. When they released, if you remember this, when they released all the documents from Project Blue Book a few years ago, we went on immediately and we researched Walesville. We got the pictures that were included in the report. All that stuff was gone off the internet the next day. So that goes into what you're saying. It's like you're expecting to see all this evidence. Here's all these Air Force photos of all the wreckage, maps from the sky, this and that. The most profound part of that is later in the day, somewhere out towards Marcy, I think the Oneida County Sheriff's Department fielded over 200 phone calls later in the day of a silver object floating around, which of course is a weather balloon reflecting off of the swamp gas caused from the Erie Canal and the Utica Marsh. But
This is a lot of stuff that I've never heard of, and I've heard that Mohawk Valley has been, a very active area when it comes to UFO. But this stuff is all brand new to me right now.
It wasn't highly publicized at all.
Yeah.
I'm not like Rich. I do believe that we have been visited by other species from other worlds and other planets. Only because I can't see us as being the only planet that can sustain that kind of life, and I think we're the stupidest of all of them.
Hopefully.
But I mean, saying that, a lot of these things, it sounds like government's trying to make up excuses and blame aliens for destroying stuff and killing people.
I know. I sort of agree with you on that. I agree with you on 2 points. Number one, I truly believe that there is other life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, it's aliens. I mean, whatever term you want to use. But there's other life. How can this vast universe or universes contain like one little microscopic planet with some dudes that hang out and talk about aliens. I mean, I'd love to believe that's true, but I'm hoping it's not. I mean, and I'm sure that if there are aliens, they've been visiting our planet for millions of years, if not. I mean, checking this out. Maybe even my uncle talks a lot about some theories where Earth was a place for minerals that a race of aliens would come to mine gold or something. They needed something here on this planet.
Yeah, supposedly in Africa, you can find remnants of mines now.
Yeah, I mean that's
500,000 years ago.
They were like, I'm sure there's probably been some sci-fi series or movies where the spaceships that go around are actually mining for minerals and stuff like that, and that's pretty much what Earth was. So they never these UFOs or aliens never get any more thought than just to come here to get resources that they needed. And there was no big, let's take over this place, inhabit. They didn't care. I mean, it was just a backwater planet. They had some minerals that they needed.
The theory for this is we were created more or less to mine these mines.
I've heard that too.
Right.
I've heard that too.
Right.
But all these theories, but I try to see if there's any relevance to it. Like if we were slaves and we were created to mine, what happened? We just got so intelligent that
there's
defied
a too. Supposedly one of the scientists liked humans, and he ended up giving us the same capabilities as they had.
Except have ships that fly out.
Except for some of the conscious.
We have jets. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cool engineering that goes into flight, but I mean, what these beings, quote unquote, have, are just out of control. But there are two theories. I mean, there are theories that beings are aliens, right? They come in rocket ships that use some kind of time travel or, like Star Trek and stuff like that. They go into light speed and whatever. But there's also theories. I was listening to a podcast with Chris Fleming, Unknown Magazine or something like that. Or no, Spirit Talk it's called. And he was doing one on aliens, and he had someone that was an expert in that field that worked for the government. And he said that aliens aren't little ships with men on them. They're actually just energy. They travel through dimension. They didn't travel through galaxies across through space and time. They just shifted over, vibrated over dimension. So they're not there's a little man that comes out and says, welcome, They're actually, just made of energy.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting take on things.
That goes along with the David Icke type thinking. I'm sorry, the David Icke type thinking.
Who's David Icke?
He's people call him a conspiracy theorist from England who studies UFOlogy too and mixes it in with spirituality and everything.
I often wonder if the crossover in paranormal and aliens are the same thing. We say sometimes, who are we talking to? I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking.
I remember.
I don't believe the ships anymore. I'm more in line with the dimensional crossing.
I think we touched kind of on that with our TJ Allard episode.
Yeah,
because
Kevin's
really,
right.
The body can't handle more than Mach 6. So these things are moving at the speed of light, and it's easy for scientists.
I don't move that fast.
A scientist to say, "Well, we haven't discovered the way we can do it yet." It's because I don't think you ever could make anything that the body could withstand going that fast. The dimensional thing is obviously more plausible.
Become spirits, say, is spirits and aliens kind of almost one and the same? We evolve
just without
to
a body,
to another dimension, to another. Maybe it's not another race. Maybe it's us, just more advanced. We figured things out. We leave here, we come into another dimension with more resources and more things easily answered, and we become much more intelligent. And then we basically come back and visit, So maybe possibly there's that type of alien
So is
or
it
spirit.
time travel?
And there's actually the aliens that are in crafts, because there's a lot of things.
Dimensions.
There are a lot of things about crafts too, basically, with people. And so maybe we're talking. There's two different things. They're not the same.
So far, we've got time travel, which I love. Back to the Future, and the other one is we're sea monkeys.
We're sea monkeys.
Yeah, we're kind of like a sea monkey experiment.
Like the kit you buy in the back of a comic book.
Yeah.
Put it in the thing.
So there's some child alien in a distant galaxy that's like, I'm gonna dump these and put a whole 75% water.
So along that, so if you look at paranormal, our existence, this is our avatar.
Correct.
Our
I like that.
spiritual energy has never changed
It's all a
since
video
its
game.
creation.
It's all one big video game.
We're just multiple incarnations. So one incarnation could be as an alien. You could have been an alien. I know I was an Orion, but I mean, it's the same energy over just a different incarnation. The time thing throws me. Like they always say, time is just a human thing.
It's a hard
But that's
concept
sort
to
of
grasp.
needed because that's what's controlling the incarnations. If that makes sense.
Well, we're like the only species probably that thinks about time.
And
That's
it's only been the
obsessed with time.
It's only been the last few centuries too.
Animals don't even know
Right.
age, time. They don't. I mean, they have some type of sense, I'm sure, of what it is, but they're not like,
For
oh, I'm going to
survival.
die in 7.2 years. Well, we're basically fascinated about. I mean, as soon as we're born and we develop our thinking, we're concerned about dying. We're already concerned about dying. I've been concerned about dying since I've been 10 years old.
Right.
I mean, why is that? I mean, why isn't it like a celebrated thing? I mean, like you watch movies, they're like, someday I shall die, and I shall be proud and a warrior. We're all scared to crap about the whole thing. So that's always kind of fascinated me. But again, I like that avatar thing. I mean, that's like so essentially we are already spirits in an avatar. When this avatar finally dies, we go back to the spirit world, and we maybe come back in a different avatar.
I mean, that's pretty much even biblical. In the Bible, it says spirits came to the earth without bodies and in
Right.
the origins of the earth.
So let's go even deeper. I want to ask you guys what your thoughts about this. Go back to the religious perspective. I mean, traditionally, God is this human-like figure that has all this power of creation and light, and the angels have wings, and there's eternal life, and then there's Satan, who's the demon, and everything else. Could go back to when religion started? Obviously, we weren't as developed intellectually as humans as we are now back then, but could have been aliens, could have been people from space that were perceived as these gods.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
That maybe they did even put us on here. I've seen shows like Ancient Aliens where they talked about how they put us on here, created us, and like you said, you mentioned something about how they liked us, and they made us like their children, and so I mean, there's all that stuff. What are your thoughts about that whole religious Bible thing and God and aliens? I've always found that sort of fascinating.
Me personally, I would have to say a lot of what we mistook for angels and demons were aliens or beings from a different dimension. Now, that doesn't mean they're not more spiritually evolved than we are. It doesn't mean we can't learn from them, but it just means they're not gods.
What is a God? We've defined what a God is. We as humans came up with the term God and what we defined it as. But we know from being paranormal investigators, and Pete can attest to this, that there are energies. They may not be in this dimension, but the energy can affect humans in this realm. And I'm talking like negative energy and positive energy. You see people who are very religious, very positive. They have that. You can feel it when you get near them, how positive they are. You can feel almost like that. You can sense that energy. And all these wonderful things happen to some people. And they're always so positive. Then you can sense when someone's like just dark. And we've seen, as investigators, some of that dark energy. So it's almost like it's like kind of like it's a shroud protecting us, but it's like there, and then we can just like, touch it
Well, if you
come
believe in
close
law of
to it.
attraction, I mean, I guess if you think positive, you attract positive towards you. If you think negative, you attract negative towards you. So,
But do the aliens or anything have any effects on this energy? I mean, how does that all come into play? You know what I mean? It's like I guess I'm trying to mix the religious thing with ghosts and aliens all into one big thing. So I think Pete's got an answer for
that's
me.
a good. Yeah, go ahead. Pete.
Let me give you the metaphysical behind this.
I was hoping for that.
Okay. So there's the divine energy. That's the creative energy. That's whatever is happening in a closed circuit. We don't understand it. Humans have tended to give that the title of the unexplained. So the divine energy created another energy called the created energy. Those are single incarnated beings that have one incarnation. That's where a god would fall in. Your angels, your demons, all of your elementals,
So, Pete,
all of your good stuff.
So,
Yes.
does that mean that we're pretty much all God's imagination, a part of God's imagination, or
We don't know. We're part of the closed circle because then he also created organic life, which would be us, aliens, and animals. Our existence is over multiple incarnations. And yes, as you had mentioned earlier, he'd given us the gift, or she, or whatever the force is, has given us the chance to become worthy of that upper knowledge where created beings can't get that knowledge.
and back
So
to
we're
back to the
rich.
Bible. Sorry, some say Jesus came back to remind us that we have eternal lives, and that we can reincarnate and all that, and to give us our souls.
And Jesus would maybe fall in under a created being because he wasn't actually born of normal means.
Right.
He was created.
Right.
So go back to with Rich's point, a created being can't be organic, organic can't be created, neither one can be divine because they're of divine. So when we talk about a demon possessing someone, what do? We call in an exorcist. I'm giving you the very basic.
Yeah.
So you call in an exorcist. The exorcist is basically asking another created being, pretty please, you have the energy equivalent to whatever's messing with this person. Can you put things back in order? Okay. And it's done. We don't have the power to do that because we're fragmented. Does that make more sense to you?
Yeah,
So we say,
it does.
okay, Archangel Michael. Well, Archangel Michael's equivalent to whatever's messing with you. So they have the same power of energy. You see what I'm trying to say with that?
And these energies are all
It's
around.
a different version of
all around
religion,
us.
but yeah.
And we can tap the very, almost like the very outer shell of this, and use it. So you have that going around. Maybe it's just, maybe it's just for us here on Earth, but according to Pete, it's kind of like more more of a cosmos thing.
Yeah, it seems like it has to be
affects
universal,
everything.
right.
So in there somewheres, aliens have to, because a lot of the ancient alien episodes I watched are starting to tie religion with the paranormal with aliens and trying to connect the dots. That maybe these aren't all separated things. Maybe they are all tied in and they have some relevance to each other.
Right. Which is fascinating.
Right.
But,
We did an investigation with a powerful psychic medium with a spirit box who communicated to a negative entity. Peter asked questions, and Peter asked this entity how old it was, and it said timeless. I heard it with my own ears.
I believe you.
So here we go about how our fascination is with time. Humans, it's like 6 o'clock, I'm another day older, another day closer to dying. Here is this thing telling us it's timeless. So going back to that metaphysical thing you were talking about, Peter, it's almost like it was created, created...
Before time.
Maybe before time, or just time has no relevance, or
Right.
maybe it doesn't even understand what time is.
It probably doesn't.
You know?
Well, we also would have maybe not as old as a created being. So if we want to go back to the Bible like you guys are talking, Genesis talks about the giants in the garden. But then there's also Lilith slithering around in there with the vampires.
The giants are, a lot of people think that's a Nephilim. That's all over the Bible.
So those would be the giant people living in the center of the earth.
Well, some could have lived there, but most of them were on
Aryan?
Earth. Most of them were on Earth at the time. But
Okay.
but now they could be underneath the Earth. Or
So if Adam and Eve are the only two on the planet, how can their children go east or west, whatever it was, to find a wife? It's like there's nobody else on the planet.
to meet up with.
So
right?
somebody's on the planet.
Right.
Well, you have to figure stories came from different cultures that didn't know other cultures existed throughout the rest of the world.
Right.
So
There is some explanation to these stories based on the intellectual ability of people at those times.
Right.
But here we've evolved to, and I still think we're like not even close to where we're supposed to evolve to, and I'm talking intellectually. But here we talk now. We have these UFOs being sighted all the time. Okay, So we've talked about the premise of how this could have been going on for a long time, how it could be all involved to, our theory of God, religion, and how essentially we might be related to some type of being that could be considered alien. It comes in and out. But what about these space visitors? As aliens as we normally view as like coming on a spaceship or a craft, this shiny craft that gets chased or noticed. Why do you think they're coming to visit us all the time? And why do you think, why is it not like, you watch War of the Worlds, they come in and they just conquer, so people are like, oh my God, they're going to conquer. Well, these things like avoid us and then disappear whenever they're seen or whatever. I mean, what are some theories on that?
Well, the scary theory is that these beings, going back to what you brought up earlier, they're basically us, and these grays are us in the future, and they're coming back to Earth now to try to breed with us because they know what happened in the future, what went wrong in the breeding, and what would eliminate our race. So they're coming back now and trying to rebreed us so we can survive the future.
Why don't they just? So you're saying they're us then?
Exactly, in the future. That's a theory. It's not my belief, but that's a popular theory.
Like Back to the Future right now. I mean, I'm thinking the movie, the DeLorean and everything right now.
Right.
One of the theories that I know of is that they're just kind of watching us as an unadvanced culture, and they have that type of advance, and they're just kind of watching over us and making sure that we are going the right way as we advance.
Yes, I've heard that
because
theory.
we're in a big change. Starting with the Industrial Revolution, that was a huge change for everybody. And then right around 1950s, like 1940s, 1950s, when they developed nuclear weapons.
Yeah, overnight pretty much.
That's when we started seeing all these aliens starting to come and getting all these responses. And right then, that's kind of like okay, we got to go down there and tell them to cut it out. And then if you notice, after that, we started going away from nuclear weapons, and it was put out as more of a political thing as, okay, everybody's going to stop touching nuclear weapons. We're not going to do it anymore. But maybe they came down and they met with the people of higher power and said, listen, cut it. No more.
Supposedly the Eisenhower administration met with a race of aliens, and we've been working with them ever since. They give us knowledge in exchange. We give them certain things like people. Supposedly we allow them to take so many people a year to experiment on. So like a lot of these missing persons things, some people believe that they're actually being abducted by aliens for experimentation, and especially in national parks. But
They weren't too nice to Valiant Thor.
True. Who was an alien, possibly. But
he was from Venus, though, wasn't he?
But see, he came
Yep.
in a spaceship and landed at the Pentagon, and then he just totally disappeared dimensionally because we'd kept him hostage or guest for 2 or 3 years, and then one day he was just gone. So he had the ability to leave at any point he wanted. So there's another thing to go to. What do they need the ship for if they're able to do that mentally? But see, Valiant Thor is up there. I know there's some chatter here in the box. We're talking about created beings. Valiant Thor is also considered it's the Council of 12, is that what they're called?
Right,
like
yeah.
Jesus, Valiant Thor, we don't know the names of others.
It's all the same consciousness, but
Then how do we know there's 12?
per them, per their stories, per their myths. Or I don't want to call them myths, per their...
See, we joke around and call it the Mafia
dichotomy,
theory. Like our
dichotomy, I
universe has a god, but that god is just the captain. So the next universe over has their god and their type of organic life, and so on and so on, and infinite. And I think that's what, excuse my language, scares the shit out of me with aliens over paranormal. We pretty much know what our universe is going to do. We don't know what they're capable of in a different universe. They may not see things the way the Council of 12 is running it in this district. Does that sort of make sense?
Well,
I think that's what scares me about aliens. We know what's going on in our galaxy. It's once you start getting beyond us,
Well, so
we don't know what their leaders are teaching them.
Some people say we're always involved in intergalactic war. We're in the middle of intergalactic war, so who knows?
You mentioned the war. Let's talk about the reptilians.
Right.
from my understanding, they are here, and they are another alien race.
I compare them to vampires more or less.
And they're an evil kind of being. But how many times have I seen YouTube videos where, like, you said there's one on Barack Obama, and he's a reptilian. You can see at certain times that the camera goes on, whatever, his eyes turn lizard-like or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I've seen a bunch of those on YouTube. But again, I mean,
Photoshop these days,
Exactly.
and the After
Exactly.
Effects.
They have
So-
one with the pulp too. Who knows if it's real or not?
so what is your guys' theory on the reptilians?
I think, per what everybody, per the stories, that they're pretty much evil and they feed on us. They feed on our fear. They need our fear and our negative feelings to survive in this dimension.
So they're like demons.
Exactly.
So the demons could be the reptilians.
Exactly. Our vampires for that.
Somebody told me a theory that goes back to the dinosaurs. That the reptilians came to Earth millions of years ago. It's an ancient race, alien race. They made Earth to their liking, which is like, more tropical. And they had lizards and dinosaurs and reptilian creatures. And then another race, and I don't remember the name.
The Nordics, possibly?
I don't know, came in and they fought or drove them out because they came there was a mineral or something. They were here for a reason, the reptilians. And they wanted the same thing. So they drove them into the core of the Earth, killed the dinosaurs, drove them into the core of the Earth. So they're still here. They're just deep in that heated core of the Earth.
So going back to religion. that would be hell.
Now tying that into Satan and demons, in hell, being in the center of the Earth. That's what someone told me. And essentially that alien race comes here to protect us from an uprising of the reptilians.
It makes sense.
And if you really think about all this stuff, there could be some merit to it. I mean, it's pretty well thought out.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's the problem. There's just so many damn theories,
Right.
and
That's why it's fun.
you just want to believe in one and latch onto it. And like,
That feeds into the sea monkey theory. Is they had a different type of sea monkey that
Yeah.
they introduced.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So-
a bigger question would be, what did Adolf Hitler promise them?
promise who?
I don't know.
The
if
reptilians.
Oh, now we'll bring Hitler into this.
I don't know
Because
reptilians.
if you go to
Makes
the
sense.
last days of Hitler,
Yeah.
even his closest confidant said he was waiting for these aliens to come in and deliver the final victory for Germany. That was an absolute thing he was waiting for.
Speaking of that,
And that's
supposedly the German army was way bigger than it should have been. So people say that they cloned millions of soldiers somehow with the aliens.
They did have a pretty big army for one
Right?
European country.
I mean, I don't know how.
Fighting the Americans and Italians and everybody else. Just one country.
just injecting there because he went all over the world, all Indiana Jones style, trying to locate everything, anything paranormal, anything outworldly. What was the stuff in Tibet that was looking for the alien stuff, right? The
Yep.
Aryans were actually from Tibet, I believe, right?
Correct.
Not from the Caucasus Mountain region. He
India,
went
well,
into
India,
South America.
right.
They went all over looking for all these, again, what we would call religious artifacts, but were more along the lines of extraterrestrial artifacts because there was the secret base in
Which one?
Antarctica, right?
There's based on both Antarctica.
Is that where his
Antarctica-
was, Antarctica?
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
it went into the center of the earth,
Yes.
where Rich is talking. I'm just trying to map in a little broader perspective. So if you want to do some reading or research,
Yeah, look up
Nazis
Admiral,
are definitely involved. And
for the research, look up Admiral Byrd, and
well, he was sent there to track down the Nazis, right?
Correct.
That was the 1947 U.S. mission to find out why the Nazis were actually building bases in Antarctica. And now nobody's allowed in Antarctica, right?
right.
Who wants to go to Antarctica?
Look, you've seen me. I have titty sweat in the middle of August. I will go to Antarctica right now.
Pete wants to go to any place where it's cold.
You give me Spam and potatoes, I'm going.
Oh, there's a funny story with that too. He had to go out live on the middle of the glaciers for like a month, and he didn't want to go out there with another man because he was afraid how he'd be seen if he was living with another man in the middle of the glacier for a month. So he chose to be by himself for a month.
Especially if your last name's Bird. But no, we got a good discussion going to see. So you got the religion, you got the aliens, you got the Nazis. Who else could we bring in? You got to
It's
bring
so
in
much-
Marconi.
It's so much broader than just little green men flying on a
Right,
spaceship. Now you evolve even further, like go to alien abductions. why are they abducting aliens? He touched upon it about how Eisenhower had an arrangement with this race, give us information, and they're like, well, we want to experiment on your people. Why? It's like Kevin said, we're like sea monkeys. What are they going to experiment on us unless they got some weird fetish where they like,
Who knows?
they like crossbreeding? But what? Unless they're taking our DNA. But
That's
I mean,
possible, too.
so how does this whole alien abduction roll into all this now? You got a smile, huge smile on your face.
Well, I mean, it's one, either they're incredibly evil and, like you said, they enjoy torturing humans.
Vinny enjoys a good probing.
But they wouldn't need to ask Eisenhower for that. They could just come in. I mean, they just randomly do it anyways.
True.
Cattle mutilations expands on that.
Right.
How they find these cattle. I mean.
Well, supposedly cattle's DNA is similar to humans, so they can learn. They can learn the future of humans supposedly from examining the way the cows are evolving. I don't understand.
But they have spaceships. We can do DNA, and we drive Hondas.
Didn't see 2020
I mean, what are they going to
coming,
need
did
from cattle? I mean, it's just
maybe these beings created all these animals, and they're checking up on them. Like they're checking up on them and seeing how their evolution is coming. And
I don't know. We're like an ant farm.
Really?
We're like super beings ant farm. They want to come and see how the ants are doing and how they're colonizing and all that kind of stuff. It's just bizarre to me. There's so many different parts of this. And then you go into you even expand further from there, and you go into ancient Egypt and how they feel that they were helped involved in making the pyramids and the Aztecs. I mean, there's footprints throughout history of possible alien presence pretty much all through history.
Supposedly King Tut was alien. His sculpture does look kind of different.
Yeah, he's got the long, weird head. So
King Tut may be actually the biblical Moses.
That's possible too.
It's him or the Pharaoh Akhenaten. It's one of the two. But that's another show.
Yeah, all these things kind of intermingle.
they've got everything about aliens woven into every part of history, including, I'm sure, Martha Stewart has something to do with it too.
So locally, even me and Vinny wouldn't go a few years back. There's a coven of people called the Brotherhood of the Snake somewhere in Little Falls.
Well,
and we've seen
worldwide,
their marking. Oh, yeah, it's a smaller sector. That's also alien-based. So that's right around the... Why are people spray painting that graffiti around here? So they're what? They're more like they're in the vampire type range too, right? Like
that's why, yeah, it's clipping to
again, bringing all this back into... And that's just in our backyard.
Right.
That's
Weird.
actually Googleable. Is that a word, Googleable?
It is now.
Google beta.
You've learned it on Agent Paranormal. Google
I know I've Google baited myself many times. I enjoy sitting there Google baiting, but oh, I look so good in that picture. So there's another human to alien sect. What was the crazy guy there that killed all them people? They were waiting for the comet.
It was in America. I forget the
That was
guy's
Jim
name.
Jones, was it?
No,
Similar to that, though. I should know this. Heaven's Gate. I can't think of his name though.
They had to kill themselves to get on the comet. There's is it Dianetics? Is that the one based off of Alien? Not Dianetics. What's their? Yeah,
L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, who was also a former CIA supposedly, so he wouldn't know a lot of secrets.
It's a fascinating field. I mean, I think because of Griffiths. I know as a kid, when you went to the library to look for books on ghosts didn't exist. There was 2 books by Hans Holzer, and there were 700 books on UFOs in Rome. And I think that's just because of the air base. So that's why we tend to be like, oh, UFOs.
Oh, come on. When we were kids, you can't tell me to see planes taking off and going out of the atmosphere.
I saw a lot of swamp gas reflecting off of Venus.
I mean, I used to drink a lot of 17 to 20, but I'm pretty sure I saw that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a gift that we had this base in our backyard,
right?
And so many ties throughout history here with UFOs to it. So there's going to be a local following, to that sort of thing. And yeah, books on ghosts still. You go to Barnes and Noble, there's some, but there's not like a whole section like there's on teen fiction. It's just there are some. The Warrens got some, and then there's some other stuff.
10 years from
then
now,
they throw
though,
in
it's
some
changing.
witchcraft books and stuff like that because they're like, where does that go? Throw it with the ghost stuff. UFOs pretty much have a lot of books. You go online, maybe not so much in libraries, but there's so many, like on Amazon and all these other places to find them.
Yes.
Crazy.
So, Vinny, was it good propaganda? Because until like 1947, nobody ever talked about aliens.
Well, it's
The
like
only alien was probably War of the Worlds.
Kevin mentioned it earlier. After we tried the atomic bomb and tested in Hiroshima, they got worried that we were going to mess up the whole solar system.
Yeah, because we released Godzilla.
Right.
So is that when they actually made contact with us and they started telling us about these things? Because really, there's a 2,000-year gap of really unless you go by pictographs on walls, hieroglyphics,
supposedly
the religious paintings with the UFOs in them.
Some people say that, like, I can't think right now. I'm sorry. Who's the guy that the Council of Nicaea?
Constantine?
Yeah, because some people say aliens gave Constantine a laser, which is how we took over the world, more or less. So I mean, per mythology and rumors, they've been around, influencing us forever, supposedly. But
What the hell are
The
you
old
reading?
It's like
engravings and the hieroglyphics and all that you see that depict the aliens. It's really like a hand-holding kind of thing. Like they're helping them do this, helping them do this. Whereas once we did the atomic drops, it was really like a hand slap come down, and that's where it was like, boom, 1950s, you're getting...
It wasn't just nurturing anymore, it was...
Yeah.
And it was the light given off by the explosion, which rippled through space. That's basically the beacon. Like, they're nuclear, and now they're a Class 0 planet trying to become a Class 1. We need to go introduce ourselves.
So we could potentially be a threat, too, by some species.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of merit to me about proof of aliens by going back through history and seeing the hieroglyphics and all that kind of stuff a little bit. It's like, here's like a thing on a cave wall of a spaceship and stuff. You're like, all right. Unless some guy drew that with some purple crayon or something right then and there. That's kind of very peculiar to have, a ship designed like that as a thing in space with picture drawings of little men coming out of it.
Right.
That's pretty... I mean, now you're going back to where before people were trying to spoof other people.
Exactly.
Unless pranksters existed back there, and they're like, maybe this isn't going to matter in 1,000 years. Let's just make it look like there's like these spaceships and people and stuff, and thousands of years after dead, people will think, I just don't think that was in their wheelhouse. But
kids are kids, but
yeah, so I think that is some of the best proof that I've seen. Or evidence. And then essentially I've seen a lot of the stuff that people have seen in the skies and stuff. I mean, some it's pretty wild. We're just there and poof, gone, so.
I personally, I've seen drones that I mistook for UFO before, but other than that, I've never seen anything up close.
I don't think I've ever seen a drone in the wild, other than someone was just flying one around that I knew about,
I believe I've
DJI.
seen a UFO at one point, and then I've seen the drone, in which I freaked out because I thought I was seeing a UFO.
Exactly.
I was driving up Route 12, and almost to my exit to go home, and there was just like these strip of like 3, 4, maybe 5 lights, and it was only hovering maybe 100 feet over Route 12, and it was just hovering there.
Right.
My first thought when I saw it was, there's a plane landing on Route 12, what the heck am I going to do? And then it just stayed there, and it was hovering, didn't move. I drove right under it, and then I circled around, came back across another way, and I saw it taking it off and just flying back towards Griffiths.
No missing time, right?
Well, what had happened was, I found out 2 days later, that's when the Air Force was doing their flyovers, and they accidentally dropped a dummy bomb, and they lost it, and they couldn't find it.
Holy.
And they ended up finding it in like Port Leyden or something.
Because it's in somebody's yard in
the area
Deerfield.
that they were.
Maybe it's in Deerfield. Let's go down there.
Look, Ma, let's make a monument out and get some daisies. We're playing around.
But it was about 7 years before that I had seen something like floating. It kind of looked like the same, but it had different color lights, and it was just floating. It looked like a helicopter hovering there, and then just kind of like went behind the tree line and never saw it again. No sound, nothing. It was maybe half a mile away. But,
No sound. Yeah, the no sound thing is freaky.
Yeah.
people are going to be very shocked if they're ever on the receiving end of the secret new aircraft we have.
What, laser or something? Noise?
Let's hope we never have to find out, because we've all seen them flying around here. So if you're listening, and Rich said, what kind of damage could our culture do out in space? I'm over here, I was laughing because I remembered a movie called Iron Sky. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's about Nazis that won the war, and they actually have a space fleet. And like one of the big battle scenes in there, I'm laughing hysterically, are all these Zeppelins in outer space, like they're all armed with nuclear bombs, but they're Zeppelins, and they're playing Ride of the Valkyrie, and it's got all Iron Sky. It's a comedy. It's
Pete, you watch
maybe
some really
late
bizarre
90s.
stuff, man.
Oh,
greatest
nice.
alien movie. Greatest alien movie is a mafia lover. Got to be Signs when he baseball batted
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci.
So, I've got a question. Why are there so many sightings in the Sequoia Clayville area?
Maybe the way the minerals are in that area attracts them. If it's interdimensional, supposedly there's only certain elements they can use to go between dimensions. Maybe it happens to be in that area, or maybe there's something there that they're watching or that they're researching, or
Moonshine.
yeah, maybe they're working on cosmic moonshine, or who knows.
They like their hot toddies.
But yes, there has been a flap of stuff in the Clayville area. People have reported missing time. There's the
If anybody has any missing time stories, please call.
stuff in New York Mills, though. I'm pretty sure that was the Goodyear blimp. I'm almost 100% sure of that. A few months back. Now that monolith thing, whatever's going on in the desert that was there and not there,
I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's alien, but
the last story I read on it, they said it's on the set that was used for HBO, the series Westworld. So it probably had something to do with.
Somebody did say that the panels that were on it were attached with machined screws.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
So I mean that screams man-made.
Just a prank, then. Yeah.
However, the skeletons of giant people that they found in South America are not.
So we have somebody commenting. He's got a few comments here, and then he gets mad at us and says he's leaving because we didn't respond.
Wait, there's 3 Iron Skies?
Sorry about that, sir.
Yeah, according to Travis, there's 3 Iron Sky movies. But okay. This was going back to what Rich was saying as mammals, we humans are the only one with a conscience, and we know that we'll die one day. He said, let me know how scary you want to go and send me in. I'll deal with whatever energy you want to encounter. Then he yelled at Pete, said Jesus was born through Mary, not creative means. And then he said, you didn't respond to me. If you want to figure out why we were here for 80 years after 1 billion years, have a good night.
Well, we're only here for 8 years.
I'm sorry we didn't answer you while you were here, but we try to jump in, but I mean we're moving along pretty quick in conversation here, and we try to jump in when we can with comments.
So we have the 3 perspectives, and that's why we always get in trouble with this, even when we do live presentations. Why we have to, I don't want to use the term watered down. That's why we don't include religion. We don't include metaphysics, which is the opposite of religion, and we try to stay somewhat in the middle, which is sort of science, the boring stuff, but not really. At some point, you have to dip left, you have to dip right. It's never always in the middle.
Yeah,
And because you're dealing with things that are ingrained in people's life,
dogmas.
it's easy to insult each side.
Yeah.
And no insulting is meant. We're just trying to wrap the entire picture, because obviously whatever's going on is so huge.
Yeah, most of this
You
is theory.
can't-
I mean, most of this is theory too. It's not my personal beliefs, or I mean, some of them may fall.
I mean, we could be right in the Stephen Hawking thing. You die, you're dead. There's nothing else. I mean, it could always drop right there on the dead core of science. That's it. There's no aliens. It's it. It's us. You're dead. You're done.
Yeah, but towards the
That's-
end, Stephen Hawking turned some of that around and said, I don't know.
Thank God, right, for hope.
But I'm
So I mean,
I'm just saying, you know, that's always the easy cop out. That, and we have a lot of friends like that. It's always easy to say it doesn't exist because it's easier to just dismiss it than put any thought into it. Because once you start thinking of this stuff, you can go crazy thinking.
Yeah, and it drives me crazy when people basically say to me, you have to apply the scientific method to all this stuff you discuss, But science is continuously evolving. I mean, I don't even think science is close to where it's supposed to be. Basically, newer discoveries, newer technology may basically take away some of our current understanding and change it.
Right.
Imagine basically in the next 50 years we become so much more advanced that what we think about gravity is not true. It's not what we thought it was before. So we are scientifically thinking. Talking about the metaphysics and all that kind of stuff, it is all scientific because we're talking about it as theories and trying to use rationale.
Right.
We're not applying equations to it,
Right.
but it's not outside of the realm of things like aliens. There's a big scientific community that's involved in the pursuit of discovering alien life.
Right.
I mean, as far as I know, there's no proof there's alien life, but we're spending billions of dollars, and there's people with PhDs and super high level education make all of us in this room look dumb pursuing this.
It's a really difficult situation. I mean, looking for ghosts, aliens, we are not a true scientific field because we can't definitively prove
over and
anything.
over. Well, especially over and over again.
Can't repeat it.
I mean, even look at it now. It's how you're saying somebody said you got to use scientific method to show what we're doing when we're investigating ghosts. Mm-hmm. There's so many ghost shows right now. If we were to show somebody a K2 meter and say we use this, they're going to be like, that's not scientific. That's a ghost tool. No, the K2 meter is not a ghost tool. It
Right.
actually is a scientific tool.
Based on scientific principles.
Yeah. But that all changes because there's so much popular culture that's not scientific anymore. Now, for aliens, show me how we're supposed to be scientific about that. To me, that part of the reasons I'm not really into aliens is because that's a depth that I can't even think of right now. It's like I'd rather just stick to ghost.
I don't
follow that path.
I don't think either one's less depth than the other. I think they both have their rabbit holes. You know what I mean? But
then you want to dabble into cryptozoology?
Yeah, there's people who become experts in each one of these individual fields that their knowledge has surpassed what many of us who are trying to be the jack of all trades.
Right.
That's why we try to have someone who's considered an expert in these fields that we can go to as jack of all trades.
Even then, we don't have experts. We're ever growing in knowledge. We're learning something every day, and that's just how it is. I mean, aliens are just a fun topic to talk about. Everybody, it's just like scary movies. It's a good jump scare. It's a good thing to get your mind thinking of how vast this universe actually is and how small we are.
Yep.
Well, and the government's got a lot of interest in this. I mean, many governments have a lot of interest in this whole pursuit of UFOs and aliens. They may have some interest in ghosts, but the big thing is the UFOs. I mean, they're pursuing this and spending a lot of money and and basically going into space and doing all this other stuff. And
I do believe that even the presidents aren't told the truth about what they. I mean,
they're temporary employees.
Exactly. Yeah.
The main national security hub and all that. They just tell the president, just tell him this. That'll give him something to throw around out there, and then
joke about.
But they don't even know. I mean, they're only going to be there 4 years, if they're lucky, 8, and then they're gone. So there's no reason they need to know the secrets of.
That quote that Rich just said is from a very good documentary. We will share that along with the books that you share on our agent page later on.
It is, and it's an excellent way to put it too. And it got me thinking. He goes, they're just like a temporary employee. I'm like. Yeah, they are. They're kind of like an independent contractor with a 4-year contract,
True.
So can I throw one more at Vinny while we got him on the stage? Doctor Who and Star Trek. Do you think that's the government's way of injecting truth into society?
Oh, yeah, why not?
Doctor Who is one of the longest-running television shows of all time.
I mean, I think they try to slowly disseminate information so people don't get too freaked out. I think. So I think they try to get used to certain concepts over time, but
So the Shadow Proclamation is real.
Well, I mean, it's based on some truth, probably.
Right? It's kind of
Yesterday's
weird. Nobody cared about Star Trek 3 seasons. Then we walk on the moon as soon as it ends.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're in this big space race.
Yesterday's science
condition
fiction,
us?
today's real science. You know,
Oh, exactly.
But was that
Yeah.
stopping you to condition people to there's something larger coming, you need to start?
You're going deep.
We're no longer talking about Robbie the robot in the 1950s. We're talking, this is what the future is going to be type of.
I don't know.
And Doctor Who actually brings in the alien aspect, where Star Trek was the, as my buddy Mark always says, space commies. But then Doctor Who actually brought in the actual alien part of it, the different planets, the different cultures,
Right.
the different.
I don't know. I'm not a big Star Trek fan. I think the best thing that I'm sorry. I'm gonna say I don't like Doctor Who either, but I think Rich will probably agree with me if I say the best thing that came out of Star Trek was in 1973 from John Carpenter. But
Star Trek was the first interracial, I forgot what it was on television.
first
Kiss?
interracial kiss.
Oh, kiss.
That even Dr. See, you got me so angry now I can't even think.
Sorry. If you didn't know where I was going with
We
that,
have a day out. Dr. Martin Luther King actually commended.
Oh, that scene?
She was going to actually leave the series, and he's like, "You can't leave the series. You're that important to that time period."
I didn't know it was 3 seasons.
That's cool.
When I was a little kid watching Star Trek, I grew up on Star Trek. I thought, man, it was like 10,
Yes.
12 seasons. I'm like, 3 seasons? I thought that show was amazing. But they canceled that quick.
I think back
3
then, though, they
seasons?
had longer seasons, I think, but still.
I have to agree with Kevin. I'm just busting his chops. Star Trek stood in the way of the Honeymooners, which used to close out WIBX at 11:30 at night on,
Howard
and then
Stern.
they would play the national anthem, and it was the end of TV.
if you didn't know where I was going with that, the original Halloween mask from
Oh,
John
yes.
Carpenter's
Okay,
Halloween
okay.
was a William Shatner Captain Kirk mask that they cut out the eyes and painted it white.
Yep.
I got to get up to it. Like what is it, near Fort Ticonderoga? They actually have the Star Trek set. There's like a big thing that goes on
I don't know.
up there, but you can't do anything now. But there was.
I know that. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have the Star Trek action figures, and I had the bridge, and the little thing you spun around, you know, and I had the captain's chair, and I had, man, if I only bought those and put them in boxes and stored
Oh,
them,
yeah.
I'd be a
almost toys.
millionaire if I just bought all that. And I had all the little Star Wars ones and the first Star Wars. I'd be a millionaire, man. I would should have just like spent thousands and thousands of
I don't
dollars.
think he'd be a millionaire. I know somebody that has it all. Like
All of
he
that?
literally has all that stuff still in boxes. He has a room full of action figures inside glass cases.
Because
See,
I
Candy,
wish-
other
Is-
people
is-
have rooms.
Is his first name what's the guy on the 40-year-old version?
No,
Steve,
Is that your friend?
One-
Is your friend
Yeah.
on that movie? The
he's
40-year-old
married.
version?
He's a professor.
I don't know.
And
You know what?
Marianne? And
Some of those collectors aren't millionaires because they won't part with anything. But I've seen some of that stuff go for some pretty damn good money.
No, he won't part with it. He
Yeah.
is
Well,
just
that's
a
why.
collector.
That's why you become a millionaire. You part with it. You sell all that stuff. You keep it. It's.
But then
know.
you got to go rebuy it once you sell it. And it's just,
know.
these are just keeping it.
I know.
Does he still play with him? He might as well sell him.
Oh, he takes them out and takes
Oh,
pictures
he does?
of them and
Oh,
stuff
okay.
like that.
So,
Wow, that's different.
Benny,
Post for
do
me.
do you think the movie Time Machine?
Hot tub time machine.
So when he goes to the future, 806401,
That's what I
Eloy and the Morlock, is that similar to what you're saying with the Greys coming back to try and interbreed with us? Because you see how the human race split into two.
H.G. Wells was.
Groups?
Yeah, it makes sense. H.G. Wells, no.
See, we're going to blow your mind.
So
Mind blown.
806401. I memorized that in case I ever got on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's the year he stopped in.
close. It's
8675309. I thought it was.
Yeah, Johnny.
Well, before we close out the show, I want to ask Vinny, out of all the theories that we talked about, all the theories that, I mean, you're well-versed, well-read in it, what is the theory that you think?
I think that they're similar to us, whereas human beings are complicated. We have our good side and our bad side. I think it's similar to these different races of aliens. They have different agendas. I think there's many more than one race. So I think there's more than one agenda. Sometimes we get caught up in between them, I think. And that's where the intergalactic war part comes in. I think we're more or less just witnesses, though. Evolving towards eventually becoming what these things are. And I guess look at them like you're looking at humans. Different humans have different agendas. Different humans have different beliefs. Different humans have different purpose. Have different, there's. It's a complicated thing, I guess. So you got to break everything down to, you got to break it all down to little stories first, and then try to connect them all together, I think. And
So you trying to get this straight? Are you thinking they're more along the lines of the time travel? They're more advanced. Us coming back.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more. Well, I think there's some of that. I think there's other race of aliens too. I think there's different things going.
Of a mixture. They actually are visiting from other planets, but there's also ones that come that are advanced our cultures, basically.
The ones that interact with us are primarily us, I think, from the future. Yeah.
So the humanoid versions react more with us than
Right.
reptilian, blues, grays. There's about 54, 57 varieties.
Or it's probably
no, that's Heinz. I think it's 54 different alien species.
There's probably more than that, but.
Again, if there's 54 and we never made contact, how the hell do we know there's 54 of them?
Go to Studio 54.
I think some aliens probably face us against other breeds of aliens, if type of stuff. I mean,
Gladiator.
Yeah, I think it's all one big.
Well, I mean, there's TV series that have been going on for years that are still talking about
Men in Black.
Alien concepts. It's a huge subject.
Right.
It's just got hundreds, if not thousands, of different theories. It's all very interesting because the theories are becoming a little bit more believable, I think, than ones I heard a decade or two ago.
Well, it's because
they're kind of they're kind of like narrowing things down, if you will.
We're becoming more advanced too, so we can see things
Right.
more clearly. I think.
Right. So as our technology evolves, so
Right.
does the theories.
Yep.
But there's still that group that maintains their theories on the past. Back to biblical times.
As far as
Yeah,
technology, some people say Noah's Ark was one big DNA database, which makes
I
more
didn't hear
sense.
that.
That kind of makes sense to me because how could you ever possibly have two of every kind of animal on a boat? Well, maybe before the flood, they had a DNA database of everything, and they kept it together somehow.
So, on a MacBook Pro someplace, and they put it on the floor.
They have a whole shelf full of different Barbasol cans, like Jurassic Park.
And then you watch Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park, you watch it, and you're like, that could almost be believable. How they took the DNA out of the mosquito and how they made the dinosaurs. If you think about it, that's sounds like actually completely doable.
Because we're evolving, because we evolve more, we can see, we see more possibility.
So,
I literally saw something this week that said that the mosquito that was inside the amber in the movie was actually an elephant mosquito, which is one of the only mosquitoes that don't draw blood.
Now, I mean, again, it's fun to talk about the stuff, and it's fun to talk to people who've done a lot more research.
Right.
And I think some point, love to get a big UFO expert, like Stanton Friedman level.
I'll go back to that.
Get on our show. That would be pretty amazing.
I think there is a way he talks about how much trouble he had coming out with the information because that's a common story. So I think he kind of tries to show people how much trouble he came against just trying to get a story out there and how big of a part of ufology that is, the politics of it all. And
oh, sure,
yeah.
sure. No, I understand that because that documentary that I referenced that Kevin mentioned, I think they did some talking about. Some people were talking about that they know so much about this, but if they talk about it, bad things will happen to them and their families.
Right.
In so many words. So they respect the authority that surrounds that.
It was very much like what you were saying with that document. It's like they were willing to share some stuff, but everything else was blacked out.
exactly. Yeah.
It sounded almost like to me like they had something on everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
they
I
do.
mean, maybe not so much like we're going to send somebody over to break your arms and your kid's
No,
legs, but
yeah, it's not that
maybe
bad anymore.
maybe basically ruin them career-wise. You know, I mean, whatever it is. That's why they basically were given authority almost like they could go out there and tease the public.
Right.
But there was like a threshold, and if they crossed that threshold, there's some guy with a bat on the other side.
Yo.
Do it, I dare you.
It's not time yet.
You know?
We've thought and talked about that over the years. We believe that Carl Sagan and probably now Dr. Tyson are the two that are allowed to speak on that subject, going along with your saying.
Well, I'll say
Because each generation has like a known mouthpiece when it comes to space. 70s and early 80s, that was all Carl Sagan. I think now you're seeing Neil deGrasse Tyson rising up. I think those are the people they allow to talk. And to some degree, I think Stanton was allowed to
definitely.
talk.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Because if they wanted to shut him down, there would have been a car accident there. And I don't mean any disrespect to whoever I'm insulting, but that would have ended there.
Yeah.
I think there's
understand.
just certain people, they infiltrate certain information.
Sagan pretty much admitted he held back. He pretty much admitted he held back on his deathbed, but
And that to me is the big mystery of all this. Not so much the information of like the is it real, but people knowing and hesitating to tell. Like, what is the big shroud? What is the force or power that keeps us at bay and keeps us compliant? You know what I mean? So that
Religion.
We don't.
some of it.
We don't know. We can't discover this. I mean, why? What would we do with it?
Religion.
If somebody came and said, "Rich, here's a picture of an alien. This exists now. What am I going to do?" We're going to call the Russians and go over and basically put a plan together to. I guess just mystifies me. Why?
You're
in this
looking
day
at
and
it
age.
through the vision of a modern person. You go back 50 years ago where religion was a very prominent part of your life. The existence of an alien disproves God in their belief back then.
Okay.
We're more open-minded. See, this is where I'm saying where the television started started broadening your mind through, how do we want to say it? This is possible. That wasn't possible in the 1930s. There was no television. 1800s, to start believing in the demonic, witchcraft, demonic. The church shut everything down other than what it wanted. And no disrespect to religion. It's very important. It plays a very specific role. I'm never going to argue that. But when you say why they held back, it's sort of like the marijuana debate. Why was it shut down so early on? Because they viewed what that was going to do to society. It was the bigger picture. Society can't accept what this gift can give, so to speak.
A lot of that
so they
stuff
just shut it down.
You can correlate that with Hollywood popular cultures too, because a lot of the things that the government wants to put out there and either kind of like lay a nice smooth layer either to freak people out or to calm them down, you can see Hollywood does that years by years. So, 1950s, you really saw the uptick of aliens and stuff like that. Then came the movies, like It Came From Outer Space, and later on down the line, you got Invasion of the Body Snatchers and all
But
that
see, they
stuff.
were never terrifying until our generation. Then they started infiltrating you with the scary stuff, like Signs, and then more Independence Day. They're coming here and they're going to kill you. I mean, there were movies in the 50s with the flying saucers, but they started Battle of Los Angeles. It's like they're in our neighborhood now.
Well,
like
not for
it's
nothing,
here.
but It Came From Outer Space was a scary movie to some people when it came out.
The Thing?
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds with. Was it
I mean,
Orson
people
Welles?
actually died
when
from
he did
that.
the actual radio broadcast.
Oh,
Scared
that'd be
the
crazy.
ever-loving out of everybody that listened.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see that with. I don't want to say that the government has their hands in Hollywood doing it, but I kind of want to say that the government has their hands in Hollywood and doing the puppetry on that.
Well, you got to remember, Hollywood is they're very intelligent. They watch what's going on in society, and basically you'll see, like in the 80s you had the slasher movies, and in the 70s you had this type of movie, 90s. So they follow social, rhythms is not really the word I'm looking for, but they follow society and see what things are making us tick and what the interest is. Then all of a sudden they'll all start jumping on and making their own version of something. Like vampires became very popular again for some reason. After something in there was, they were all over it. Well, that's the teen vampires are Pete's favorite. He loves the teen vampire flicks.
I've been watching it
He's
all.
not joking. He's not even joking.
So
It's been on TV through Thanksgiving.
So yeah, so Hollywood basically has a big impact on us because we all watch television. It influences us. The media is as big as it ever has been. It used to be like more prominent, I think, because people had only outlet to the outside world was media.
Right.
But now we can travel all across the world easily. But still, now we're streaming stuff. I mean, the media's not stupid. They're like, we'll put it on your phones, we'll put it on your iPads, we'll put it on the airplane, we'll put it in hotel rooms. I mean, they no matter where we go, we're captured. You know what I mean? They got us.
Awesome consumers.
Absolutely.
In which is that why the government is actually starting to release more stuff on aliens? Is because we have such a reach with the internet and with having cameras in our pockets that are connected to the internet. They can't control everything. So maybe they're just like, all right, let's start releasing some stuff.
Yeah, let's all right, let's give them a little bit of this Tuesday. It's almost like they use that social media app there. What is it, Hootsuite, whatever? They're like, okay, put all this stuff on here. Release this Monday. Release this Tuesday. Release this Wednesday. And they know we're not stupid, and they're trying to basically play nice with us. You got to trust your government, right? The government wants you to trust. I mean, there's got to be a level of trust. So,
But
with that being said,
Kevin brought up, like we're in the middle of COVID. The CIA come out, boom, aliens are real. U.S. Army, yeah, we've tracked extraterrestrial vehicles, but all this stuff gets dumped in the middle of COVID. Nobody's like even remotely caring about it. It's like, what? What do you mean you've been tracking extraterrestrial vehicles?
What a great time to release it when we're so sidetracked with surviving through the zombie apocalypse. Oh yeah, by the way, we have aliens.
Had to be on purpose just to get it out there.
Vinny saw that. He started packing his bags. He's like, I better go get some marbles.
I don't think I got him up there. So.
Well, any last minute thoughts? I think we're getting close to wrap it up here
thanks a lot
our Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Thanks a lot for letting me come on. I had a good time, guys.
Yeah, man, anytime.
Thank you
we
very
enjoyed
much for
it.
coming in, Vinny.
We enjoyed it. So, yeah. Any last thoughts, Peter?
It's a nice taste. It's a nice radio station too, by the way.
If you want to be, it's the holiday season. You should be depressed. There's a movie out there with Nicolas Cage called Knowing. If you haven't seen it, that's probably the best alien movie. Alien, not alien movie you're going to see because that just
Community.
That'll make you think.
Yeah.
And then it'll lead into Adam and Eve, and you'll be like, "What?"
I'm just not looking forward to powering this off and walking outside and seeing two men in black suits waiting for us.
No, we're
Is
safe.
your name Peter Leonard?
20 years ago, we probably weren't safe talking about this, but now we're okay now.
They already know who I am.
Yeah. There's people like
It's
go
all
so much
theory.
deeper.
This is all
They're already
theory.
listening.
It's all theory, people.
Yeah, they are. So, all right, folks. With that, I guess we're good for tonight. So, thank you everyone for joining us on this very peculiar and knowledgeable episode on UFOs and aliens. We hope you enjoyed it. Maybe get you thinking a little bit about this kind of stuff. We'll probably do more of this in the future. Our next episode is when, Kevin? December?
I believe it's going to be December 20th.
December 20th, just before Christmas. So we'll have some interesting topics to share with you on that. We'll promise we'll have a great episode for you. So with that being said, please go on Facebook and follow us at Agent Paranormal. Like us. Also, Disruption Network, follow them as well and all their social media. We want to thank them for the studio. They basically are the ones producing the show for us and giving us the opportunity to bring our entertainment and our knowledge and our experience into your living room. So with that being said, everyone have a wonderful night. Anything else you guys want to say before we sign off?
Happy holidays and all that. And
The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie was good too. What was that?
keep
on
up the
Mars?
research.
He's
Keep
still
up the
going
research,
on.
everybody.
We will be on for 3 hours if Pete's thinking of all these science fiction movies even. So with that, happy holidays, and we'll be seeing you soon. Have a safe and wonderful night, and thank you from all of us at Agent Paranormal. Peace.
Scare you later.
Ice Cube on Mars.